She looked up from her glass and smiled, the kind of small, deliberate smile that doesn't just greet you but tests you. I'd been standing by the counter, pretending to read something on my phone, though I'd stopped reading 3 minutes ago. She was there again, Ms. Hale, the woman who'd started coming in every Thursday evening, always sitting by the same corner window. Always alone. Always with that faint scent of vanilla and rain on her coat. "Evening, ma'am," I said, too polite, too automatic. The word slipped out the way it always did, like a reflex. Her smile didn't fade. "You really have to stop calling me that," she said, her voice soft but edged with humor. "Makes me sound like someone's boss." "You are someone's boss," I said. "Half the town works for you." She raised her eyebrows. "And you?" I hesitated. "Just serve your coffee." There was a pause, the kind that stretches too long and starts to hum between two people. She didn't look away. Neither did I. The cafe was half empty, the low hum of conversation in the background fading into the clink of her spoon against porcelain. Her fingers brushed mine when she reached for the cup. Just a second, just enough to make the air feel heavier. "Sorry," I said. "Don't be." Something about the way she said it, quiet, steady, felt like it meant more than just the cup. She looked out the window, watching the reflection of the streetlights. "You remind me of someone," she said after a while. "Should I be worried or flattered?" "Neither. He used to listen when I spoke." Her voice wasn't sad, not exactly, but there was a shadow in it, something left behind. I wanted to ask, what happened to him, but I didn't. Instead, I leaned a little closer, close enough to smell her perfume, something faintly floral, something that didn't belong in a coffee shop. She noticed. Of course she did. "You do that a lot," she murmured. "Do what?" "Watch people. Like you're waiting for them to say something they won't." I swallowed. "Maybe I am." Her lips curved slightly. "Dangerous habit." I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. "So is coming here every Thursday." That earned me a longer look, one that seemed to trace every unspoken thought I hadn't dared to say out loud. The clock above us ticked louder than it should have. She finally stood, smoothing her coat, and for a moment I thought she was going to leave. But then she stopped beside me, her hand resting on the counter. "Tell me your name again," she said. "Eli. Eli," she repeated, tasting it like she was testing the sound. Then she leaned in just enough that her breath touched my ear. "If you're going to keep calling me ma'am, at least mean it." The space between us shrank until I could feel her presence more than see it. "Then what should I call you?" I asked, barely audible. Her answer came like a whisper cutting through the quiet. "Say my name like you mean it." But before I could, the cafe door chimed. Someone stepped in, cold air sweeping through, and she pulled back as if nothing had happened. She turned with that same faint smile, leaving her untouched coffee on the table. "See you next Thursday, Eli," she said, and walked out into the night. I stood there, the echo of her perfume still in the air, wondering why the room suddenly felt too warm and too empty at once. It rained again the next Thursday, the kind of steady, whispering rain that makes everything feel slower, heavier. She arrived late this time, her coat damp, hair slightly undone, the kind of imperfection that made her seem more real than I'd ever seen her before. "You're late," I said before realizing how it sounded. She smiled faintly. "Didn't know you were keeping track." "I wasn't," I lied. She laughed under her breath, setting her umbrella against the wall. "Of course you weren't." She sat at her usual table, but I didn't wait for her to order. I brought her coffee over, 2 sugars, no cream, the way she always took it. "Still remember?" she said softly, fingers brushing mine as she accepted the cup. "That's impressive." I tried to pay attention. She looked at me then, a little too long. "That's what scares me." The words hit harder than they should have. I wanted to ask why, but I already knew. She was the kind of woman people whispered about. Not because of anything she'd done, but because of what they imagined she'd done. The successful business owner. The one who never remarried. The one who still made heads turn when she walked into a room. And me? I was just the barista who stayed after closing, pretending the world didn't expect anything from him. When I came by to wipe her table, she was watching the rain again, fingers tracing slow, distracted circles around the rim of her cup. You ever get tired of people expecting too much? She asked. All the time. Or too little? That too. She nodded. That's the trick, isn't it? Learning to live somewhere in between. Her voice cracked ever so slightly on between. I almost missed it, almost. I didn't say anything. Just stood there, close enough to feel the warmth coming off her coat. Her hand moved absently, brushing the edge of mine again. Neither of us pulled away this time. Your hands are cold, she said. I close late. I murmured. Coffee machines aren't exactly heaters. She smiled, but her eyes softened in a way I hadn't seen before. You shouldn't stay here so late. You'll start belonging to this place. Maybe I already do. The silence after that wasn't awkward. It was full, heavy with everything we weren't saying. Then, a small thing, she reached up to fix the collar of my shirt. Just a small, instinctive gesture. But her fingers lingered a heartbeat too long. I didn't move. Couldn't. You shouldn't look at me like that, she said quietly. Like what? Like you haven't decided if you're sorry yet. Her hand dropped, but her gaze didn't. Before I could answer, the lights flickered, a storm surged, probably. The brief darkness made the air between us pulse with something wordless. When the lights came back, she was still standing there, close enough that her perfume blurred with the smell of coffee and rain. Neither of us said goodbye that night. But when she left, she touched my arm again, slower this time, deliberate, and whispered, "Next Thursday." And somehow, it didn't sound like a promise. It sounded like a warning. The storm had passed, but the air still smelled like wet asphalt and static. She came in earlier than usual, her hair still damp, her mood unreadable. I'd been thinking about her all week, the way she said my name, the whisper that had chased me through every quiet hour since. Rough day? I asked, sliding her the usual before she could even take a seat. You could say that. Her voice carried that same calm she always wore like armor, but tonight, something in it faltered. She looked tired, not physically, but the kind of tired that lives behind the eyes. You ever feel like you're the only adult in a room full of children? She said suddenly. Most days, I said, half smiling. She smirked faintly. You're barely one yourself. I didn't say I was good at it. She laughed under her breath, soft, restrained, then stopped when our eyes met. That silence again. That pull either of us could name. The cafe was quiet, just the low hum of a single light and the distant patter of rain returning. She reached for her cup, fingers brushing mine again. This time she didn't move away. You do that on purpose now? I asked. Maybe, she said. It should have been playful, but there was something behind it, something dangerous in how natural it felt. Just then, the door swung open. My coworker, Jamie, walked in, shaking out his umbrella. Hey, Eli. Oh. His eyes flicked between us. Didn't know you had company. She was just... I started. Leaving, she finished, standing a little too quickly. Jamie muttered something about finishing the closing shift and disappeared into the back, but the moment had cracked. I could see it in the way she held herself, straighter, colder. You don't have to pretend, I said quietly once he was gone. I'm not pretending, she said, but her voice was too steady to be true. Then what are we doing? She looked at me for a long time, her hand still on her coat. Trying not to make a mistake. Her words should have ended it. But they didn't. I moved around the counter before I could think better of it. She didn't back away. I keep telling myself it's just coffee, I said. She smiled barely. And is it? No. Her breath caught just a little, enough for me to notice. She looked down, then up again, her eyes flickering between my mouth and my eyes as if she hated herself for it. Eli, she said quietly. You shouldn't, I know. We were inches apart now, the soft hum of the cafe filling the space where words used to be. Her hand lifted, maybe to stop me, maybe not, but then her phone buzzed on the table. The sound made her flinch. A name flashed on the screen, one I didn't recognize. Her face changed, something private and unreadable flickering there. She silenced it, placed the phone face down, and whispered, "I have to go." But when she passed me, she didn't avoid me. Her shoulder brushed mine, deliberate, lingering. At the door, she turned back, eyes softer now. "Don't wait for next Thursday," she said. "Sometimes I change my mind." Then she left, leaving the scent of rain and hesitation in her wake, and me standing there, realizing how close I'd come to something I wasn't ready to name. She didn't come for 2 Thursdays. By the third, I'd stopped pretending not to notice. Every time the bell above the door rang, I looked up too quickly. Every woman in a gray coat made my chest tighten for no reason I could explain. When she finally appeared, she didn't look the same. No coat, no makeup, hair pulled back hastily. Her eyes, usually calm, in control, were different. Too bright. "I wasn't sure you'd show up," I said. "I almost didn't." "Why?" She exhaled, glancing toward the empty cafe. "Because this isn't fair. To either of us." There was a tremor in her voice, small but undeniable. I closed the register. "Then why are you here?" She didn't answer. Just looked at me, really looked, as if she was trying to memorize something. "I told myself it was just coffee," she said. "Just conversation. But every time I left, I felt like I'd done something wrong." "You haven't." "Haven't I?" She stepped closer, her voice soft but sharp. "You're half my age. People would talk." "They already do. I don't care what they say." "You should." She was close enough now that I could see the faint line of a scar just beneath her jaw, the shimmer of light catching her skin. My pulse wouldn't steady. "Say it then," I whispered. "Say you don't feel it too." She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence stretched so tight it could break. "I tried," she said finally, barely above a whisper. "I tried not to." Her hand lifted, almost without thought, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I caught her wrist before she could pull away. Her skin was warm, trembling slightly. "You don't have to keep pretending," I said. Her eyes flicked to where our hands touched. "And what happens if I stop?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. The sound of the rain outside had turned softer, rhythmic. The smell of her perfume, faint, familiar, filled the space between us like gravity. She stepped closer until I could feel her breath against my neck. My heartbeat stumbled. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she whispered again, but her voice wasn't steady this time. "Then stop standing so close," I murmured. She almost laughed, but it broke halfway through. "God, Eli, you don't understand how hard this is." "I do," I said. "You're not the only one trying to walk away." Her eyes softened then, the fight in them faltering. For a second, it felt inevitable, like the room itself had been waiting for this. Her hand slipped from my wrist, up to my collar. My breath hitched as her fingers lingered there, tracing the edge of my shirt. "Say it again," she whispered. "Say what?" "My name." I leaned in, close enough to see the reflection of the lights in her eyes, close enough that the air between us vanished. "Anna," I breathed. The word barely left my mouth before the cafe door burst open, a gust of wind, laughter, and someone calling my name from outside. She froze. The spell broke. And for the first time, she looked afraid of what would happen if we didn't stop. The next day, she came before closing, no warning, no reservation in her steps. The cafe was empty except for the hum of the refrigerator and the faint clatter of cups drying on the rack. "Anna," I said, too surprised to hide it. She didn't answer. Just closed the door behind her, locked it. The click echoed. "I needed to talk," she said. "And not where anyone could walk in this time." Her voice was calm, but her Her hands gave her away. She gripped her bag too tightly, the leather creasing beneath her fingers. What happened? I asked. She exhaled. Someone saw us. That night. I felt the floor shift under me. Who? My assistant. She's known me for years, and she asked if I'd started seeing someone new. Anna's tone wavered on the last word. I didn't know what to say. I swallowed. So you denied it? She looked up sharply. Wouldn't you? I wanted to say no. I wanted to say I'd have told the truth. But the words caught in my throat because even I didn't believe them. She stepped closer, the space between us shrinking until her perfume reached me, softer than usual, almost hesitant. You think I wanted to lie? No, I said. I think you're scared. Scared? She repeated, a bitter smile tugging at her mouth. You think this is fear? She stepped closer still, her voice tightening. You have no idea what I've already lost trying to do things right. Her words hung there, raw. Then why keep coming back? I asked. Her hand twitched at her side. She almost reached for me, then stopped. Because you look at me like I'm someone I haven't been in years. That line hit deeper than I wanted it to. I stepped forward before I could think. And what do you see when you look at me? She hesitated, her breath uneven. Someone too young to know what this costs. Then stop, I said. If it's that simple, just stop. She didn't move. Didn't even blink. Instead, she laughed, softly, but there was no humor in it. You think I haven't tried? Her voice cracked untried. I could feel the heat radiating between us, the quiet shaking in her breath. She took another step, close enough that her shoulder brushed my chest when she looked away. I thought I could forget this, she whispered. But I can't. Not when you're standing this close. Her fingers grazed mine again, a slow, trembling motion, and this time either of us pretended it was an accident. Anna. She shook her head. Don't. But she didn't pull back either. Her phone buzzed again, that same name flashing across the screen. She silenced it without looking. Then she met my eyes. That's my ex-husband, she said quietly. He wants to talk. He thinks we're fixing things. The words landed like glass shattering in slow motion. She exhaled, shaky now. I thought I wanted that too. But then... She looked at me, her eyes wet and steady all at once. Then I met you. Either of us spoke. Outside, thunder rolled again, far away. And she whispered, barely audible. Tell me to go, Eli. Please. But I didn't. And she didn't move. The storm returned that night, a low, relentless hum pressing against the windows. The cafe was closed, lights dimmed, chairs stacked. I should have gone home hours ago. But I stayed. And she came. No umbrella this time. Her hair clung to her face, rain streaking down her coat. She didn't say a word, just walked in, locked the door behind her, and turned to me. Anna. I started, but she shook her head. Don't. Not yet. Her voice was barely steady. She dropped her bag, crossed the room, and stood in front of me. Close. Too close. The air felt heavy, like everything unsaid had been waiting for this exact moment. I told him, she said quietly. My pulse stumbled. Your ex? She nodded. That I couldn't fix something that died years ago. She met my eyes, and there it was, the truth she'd been holding back. Not guilt. Not fear. Just exhaustion. Relief. You did that because of me? I asked. I did that because I was tired of lying, she said. But yes, maybe also because of you. For a moment neither of us moved. The sound of the rain filled the silence, steady and unrelenting. Her hand lifted, slow, uncertain, and brushed a drop of water from my collar. You're shaking, she whispered. So are you. Her lips parted as if to speak, but nothing came out. We stood there, the inches between us charged with everything we'd been avoiding. This isn't how it's supposed to happen, she murmured. No, I said. But it's real. Her hand lingered on my chest. I could feel the warmth of her through the damp fabric. She looked up, that same searching look from the first night, only now there was no hiding in it. "I don't know what happens after this," she said. "Neither do I." Her breath trembled when she exhaled. "Then why does it feel like I already regret not doing what I shouldn't?" I took a step closer, close enough that her perfume blurred into the scent of rain and coffee and something entirely hers. My hand found the back of her neck, fingers tracing the damp strands of her hair. She didn't pull away. "Eli," she breathed, my name barely a sound. Everything in me wanted to close the distance, to stop thinking, stop hesitating, stop pretending this was something either of us could manage neatly. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I said, "If I kiss you now, there's no going back." Her eyes met mine, unflinching. "Then stop warning me." The world seemed to still. The hum of the rain, the flicker of the lights, the faint buzz of the espresso machine, all of it faded. I leaned in, slow enough to feel the heat between us shift into something that burned. Her hand slid up my arm, found my jaw. Our foreheads touched. Not a kiss. Not yet. Just breath. Shared uneven, trembling. When she finally spoke, it was almost a whisper against my lips. "I'm not afraid anymore," she said. And for the first time, either was I. The rain had stopped by morning, leaving the world rinsed clean and quiet. Lights slipped through the cafe windows in soft, gold streaks, glinting off half-dried tables and the faint steam rising from fresh coffee. She sat across from me, legs tucked under the chair, hair still damp from the night before. Her coat hung on the rack, her scarf draped across the counter, like she'd been here forever. Neither of us spoke at first. Words felt unnecessary. The silence was full, not awkward, the kind that happens when everything has finally been said without saying it. Anna traced the rim of her mug, her fingers slow, thoughtful. "You didn't kiss me," she said, her voice low, warm. "I know," I said. Her eyes lifted, meeting mine, still soft, but searching. "Why?" "Because I didn't want it to be about everything that went wrong," I said. "I wanted it to be about what might finally go right." Her smile was small, but real. "That's very you." I shrugged, a little sheepish. "Regretting it now? Not even close." She reached across the table then, the simple, quiet motion grounding us both. Her hand found mine, fingers brushing before interlacing. The warmth of her skin steadied something restless inside me. Outside, the city woke. Cars splashed through puddles, shopkeepers lifted shutters, a kid laughed somewhere down the street. Inside, it felt like time slowed to match our breathing. "I kept thinking it was wrong," she admitted after a pause. "The age difference, the timing, everything. I thought maybe what I felt was just confusion, something I'd wake up from. And now?" I asked. "Now I think I just needed to stop fighting it." I didn't answer right away. I just let my thumb brush along the back of her hand, a small, wordless acknowledgement. When she stood, I thought she might be leaving. Instead, she came around the table, stopping right behind me. Her hand slipped onto my shoulder. I looked up, and she leaned down until her forehead touched mine. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For staying when I told you to go." I turned, and this time there was no hesitation. The kiss that followed wasn't rushed or hungry. It was quiet, steady, like two people finally letting themselves breathe. When we broke apart, she laughed softly, almost shyly, and rested her head against my shoulder. The rain started again, not the storming kind, just a gentle drizzle tapping against the glass. I reached for her hand again, and she squeezed back, thumb tracing lazy circles over my skin. We didn't need promises or plans. Just the stillness between us, the soft hum of the world waking outside, and the warmth that finally felt like peace. For the first time, everything felt simple. She looked up at me, smiling. "So what now?" "No," I said. "We start from here." Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?